It's abundantly clear that Days Gone will not get a sequel, yet the desire remains among the game's huge fan base. It's no secret that Days Gone had mixed reviews, receiving a 71 on Metacritic. While I'm sure that BendStudio hoped and aimed for a higher score, 71 is still an acceptable result, and honestly a very good review for Metacritic. Fans like myself have praised the game's open world and combat, and criticized a bit of the dialogue and the technical issues. But time, however, is a very wonderful thing. Days Gone has certainly developed a cult following in the recent years, with the excitement of the release period receding in connection with the game's availability on PlayStation Plus. The game even today is still very enjoyable, but Sony has yet to approve the sequel. So is it ever gonna happen? Today we'll cover everything about Days Gone 2. If you're excited for this video, drop a like, and now let's break it down. Days Gone 2 was previously in development before being canceled by Sony, with the game's director revealing that it could have been released in April of 2023 if the development had continued. Fans like myself are continuing to campaign for a sequel, with one petition receiving over 200,000 signatures. While BendStudio hasn't actually revealed any official updates, and that's just because they don't exist, I can tell you a bit of what Days Gone 2 could have looked like. The Days Gone director Jeff Ross previously spoke with USA Today, stating, "We have to be able to crawl before we can walk, and walk before you can run." He goes on by saying that, "I see it as a trilogy. The first games, Batman Arkham and the Uncharted, are basic. They serve as the foundation for the future titles. In the first Uncharted game, for example, you could surface swim. In the second or third game, you could swim underwater. The fourth game involves scuba diving underwater. They didn't start with scuba diving. Instead, they worked their way up to it." He goes on by saying that that applies to all games. Horizon Forbidden West will feature underwater swimming. It will include everything that they probably wanted to do in the first game, but ran out of time. So you build the minimum viable entry and hope the ability to build upon it in the second one, because you're not arguing about the foundations, but rather the epic new ideas you're going to incorporate into it. Days Gone had the makings of a very promising franchise, and it appears that the game's director knew that, and he knew exactly what it required to iron out the wrinkles for the future of the franchise. It just seems that it might not happen. Now, if you didn't know what Days Gone was, it's a zombie survival game in which the player drives on a motorcycle to outrun the terrifying hordes of zombies, almost reminiscent of Resident Evil and the Sons of Anarchy, kind of just a huge mixture between the two. Now, while it does appear that the sequel is out of the question, which we'll cover that a bit later, fans have definitely been campaigning for a sequel for the future, as well as replaying the game's PC port and the numerous mods. Actually, over on Nexus Mods, they have a pretty unique mod that uses Unreal Engine 4. It kind of gives the game a completely new look, as well as fixing some of the game-breaking issues and the technical problems that the game has had since launch. So if you've never played Days Gone, you definitely want to play it on PC with some of these mods. Some of the notable features that this mod actually improves is some of the reflections, the shadows, and the lighting. It also improves the performance for the game that many players were having problems with stuttering when the game came out on launch. So if you're gonna play Days Gone today, I highly suggest you download some mods. It'll make the game's experience way better. It'll make your experience way better. Even the mod creator claims that the mod's impact on the game is literally night and day, and I personally will say the same thing. So switching topics, like I said previously, there is a Days Gone 2 petition that has over 200,000 signatures. So over 200,000 people have signed this Days Gone petition that is campaigning for a sequel to happen. Days Gone was released in 2019, so BendStudio has been working on something for nearly 5 years. While some of the unconfirmed rumors suggest that it might be the new Uncharted entry, and they're taking over the reins from Naughty Dog, I know for certain that it's not out of the question that it's Days Gone 2. We just have no confirmation of it yet. And truthfully, with BendStudio not even confirming what they're actually working on, it's definitely smart not to completely rule out the possibility that Days Gone 2 is actually still happening. Some of the information that we do know is that it's no secret that Sony actually turned down the potential sequel to Days Gone. Days Gone is definitely an interesting subject. While it has its flaws, it amassed a huge devoted following over time. Something worth noting is that previously the game's director said that if they would have been working on the sequel to Days Gone, the game actually would have came out in April of 2023, so all the way last year. So we could have already had the game in our hands. We could have been playing it. Now, before I break down this article with the game's director breaking down some of these story details, I wanted to let you guys know that we're actually giving away a PS5 at 80,000 subscribers. So if you want to enter, all you have to do is subscribe with your notifications turned on, like this video, tweet me proof that you're actually subscribed, and we'll be picking a winner at 80,000 subs. All this information will be in the pinned comment of this video. Good luck, guys. So this article comes from the collider.com, and they're basically breaking down from the director's point of view, from Jeff Ross's point of view, of what Days Gone 2 actually would have looked like. So the article starts off by saying, here's what Days Gone 2 would have looked like according to the director Jeff Ross. The game sequel would have included a co-op mode and a shared universe. It goes on by saying that we have just received confirmation from Days Gone director James Ross that a Days Gone 2 was indeed pitched to Sony, including plans for a shared universe and a co-op mode that never came to fruition. The reveal came from a live stream with the God of War creator David Jaffe, where Ross spoke on topics that happened to the following his departure from BendStudios, and Bloomberg's report last week from the unsuccessful Days Gone sequel pitch from BendStudios to Sony. Ross, who has now joined the Mortal Kombat creators over at NetherRealm, admits to Jaffe that he was working on a Days Gone 2 pitch from his departure at BendStudios, and then it goes in quotes, had nothing to do with the status of the sequel and was due to personal reasons. It then goes on to say that he couldn't confirm details due to the NDA that he signed with his former employer. He heavily suggests that sales from the original game may not have been enough to strike up a sequel in Sony's eyes. So now I'm just going to read off some of the important questions that were asked in this live stream. So the first one being, when asked by Jaffe of what Sony's reasoning was for canning the sequel, Ross says this: "I don't think it's publicly confirmed the status of Days Gone 2. I don't want to be the guy who's the official source for whatever that is. Days Gone has sold more copies than every game the studio has ever made combined, so it's successful in that way, and the community and the players' response. But the critics, yeah, that was Normandy Beach." Ross later began discussing his plans for a sequel, which later would have included a shared universe with co-op play, something fans have desperately desired for the original game. So he states, "We wanted co-op from the beginning in Days Gone 1, but obviously you know to make those concessions for what you're not going to be able to do, but then take this world that you've built with all the assets and systems and repurpose them for some sort of similarly themed multiplayer version of this universe. So it would be guys like Deacon trying to survive, building up a clubhouse or a crew. I think it would be fun to be in a co-op world like that and just see what the horde battles could actually be like." Now, when asked whether these features would have been included in the sequel, he says, "It's one of the things that we had in our pitch. Yeah, it was an idea of a shared universe with co-op play." Bloomberg mentions in the report that the cancellation was a part of Sony's agenda to focus on a larger blockbuster games. Now, this has come at the expense of niche teams in its first-party organizations. Ross denied suggestions that BendStudios was used as a support studio for Naughty Dog and that the sequel was never the reality. He goes on by saying that Sony's got to run a responsible business, so it's okay for them to make decisions based on the anticipated return of investment, because that's money that they need to fund for the next game. For Sony, every era is about survival. They've never been so cash rich, so they've got to be smart. He ends off by saying that I think fans should really understand that before they really go off. Even though it all seems lost, Ross also added that there's still a chance that the sequel could happen one day, even though he claims that the odds of that happening are 1 in a million. Days Gone's popularity has skyrocketed in recent months, and that's thanks to the inclusion on PlayStation Plus and the renewed interest in the narratives following the conclusion of HBO's Last of Us series. So what we do know is that Sony turned down the possibility of Days Gone sequel in 2019, but it's never actually been officially confirmed that the sequel isn't happening. It's also worth noting that BendStudios is about to announce something new. They've been working on this project since the release in 2019, so they've basically had over 5 years to be working on this new project. Now, whether that's Days Gone 2 or BendStudios taking over the Uncharted franchise, that'll be something we'll have to wait and see. But Days Gone 2 isn't completely out of the question. It could still happen. Let me know in the comment section, do you think BendStudios is actually working on Days Gone 2? Do you think we'll hear anything about it in the future, or is it gone forever? I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget about the PS5 giveaway. This has been Zach. I'll catch you guys in the next one.